Do me a favor, all the interviews start off the same way. Your name is?
My name is John Barzizza,
Spell that last name.
B-A-R-Z-I-Z-Z-A.
And it's John Barzizza.
Barzizza.
Okay, John. And you're
Running for mayor, Germantown.
You're a retired businessman? What kind of business?
Yes, I was in wholesale wine, liquor, and beer business for 43 years.
I was wondering that because he knows Mike Barzizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael's my cousin, and he was one of our on-premise guys and a beer guru.
Was he really?
Yeah, I mean, now he's totally away from that industry altogether.
What made you decide to run?
Mike, I've always been a person of service. I enlisted in the Navy Reserves while I was in college, and this was before the lottery, and I ended up number 358 in the first lottery ever. So I never would have gone. I never would have been drafted. But I was always a person of service, and after college and after my reserve active duty and so forth, I got involved in the CB Council of West Tennessee, or Cerebral Palsy Council of West Tennessee. My older son, John, who is now 44, we thought he was cerebral palsy. He was very young at the time. He was probably about 3, and quite frankly, he wasn't a victim of cerebral palsy, but profound mental retardation, yeah. or I hate to use that term. Can you cut that one out?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's profoundly mentally disabled,
yeah.
And so I got involved with other programs. He ended up at Arlington Developmental Center, and then when the Arlington Developmental Center problems ensued at the beginning of the Sundquist administration, John went to SERVS, Shelby Residential Vocational Services, and I've been on their board since. And John has a brother that's 7 years younger that's also affected. So both of them were in the class of the class action suit. So for all these 26 years, I've been on the board and served them, if you don't mind me saying, well, and as board chair twice, and also ran the capital campaign from '08 to 2011.
And you were on the board of Alderman 4 years ago, was that true?
I've been a member of the board of Alderman for 4 years, and I've been involved in various and sundry different other nonprofit boards over my career, and business as well.
What do you think the issue is over here, John? What are the issues here that you're looking at that you feel like something needs to be done?
Several major issues. The number one issue with the people today is the apartment issue, and that's really got people stirred up in a big way. With freestanding apartments comes an influx of population that may or may not even reside in the apartment, but will be in those children will be in our school system. And the Collierville has found that with their schools, especially on the south side of Collierville, that there are a lot of Marshall County kids that are being dropped off in Collierville schools, and those families are renting in Collierville, and may be subletting the apartment, you know.
So or I think that's a big one. And what's it, Mayor Palazzolo? What he approved that was 1,200.
There was 1,200, almost 1,200 initially, and all total, there's 2 freestanding apartment complexes that were approved by the Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen some time ago, Watermark and Viridian. The Viridian project is going forward. The Watermark project is been held up because of some legal issues and I'm not going to go into those details, but because of some legal issues.
The apartments, some argue that that's growth, and some argue that being against them.
The people that we have out here today, we have the schools. Our schools are already crowded, and when we added on to Riverdale Middle School, it wasn't built out big enough, and so, or large enough. And so the long and short is, I have young friends of mine that moved out here for our schools, and when they found that, you know, they went from private school with 20 kids in the classroom to a situation where there was 40 kids in the classroom at middle school at Riverdale. And I got many calls about that, and I said, look, we fund, we don't manage the schools. So they went to the school board. I gave them names of people to communicate with. But it's a dilemma with the folks that are Generation X who have got their kids in school. Yeah. In fact, I was going to run for alderman again. I was going to run for re-election, but I had a group of those young folks who are the ages of my children who came to me and asked me to run for mayor primarily because of the apartment situation. Now, having been an alderman for the last 4 years, there are certain things that there's certain things that have come up that I'm very concerned about, and transparency. Transparency is a major problem, and
transparency in what?
Transparency in government in general. We have, I mean, there have been things that I have asked for directly from our city administrator, particularly in regards to funding, and I just don't like the processes that they use for our capital improvements or our general fund budget
there are critics out there who say by banning this, you're kind of, Germantown is kind of trying to put up a wall here so that outsiders aren't necessarily welcome to come in.
No, we want all comers. We want all comers. We don't care where they're from or who they are, but as long as far as I'm concerned, I want the people to have skin in the game. An apartment dweller, as I said before, doesn't have skin in the game. Yeah, their property tax is being paid, but you know, there are a lot of homes out here that are being rented by folks who just want to do nothing but put their kids into school. In fact, a friend of mine who's got a couple of rental properties out here was asked by some people that live in Oxford, yeah, and they wanted to rent his place, and they weren't even they were going to drive from Oxford to drop their kids off. That was insanity as far as I was concerned, but they didn't for some reason, you know.
You're concerned about taxes too, I understand.
I'm concerned about the tax situation. We've had 2 increases within a 4-year period. Now, it does take money to run government, but it also takes a business mind that I have in order to control costs. And you know, all the years I was in business, I drove my business through sales, managed my business through cost controls, and making sure I had the best of the best as far as salespeople, as far as people in the warehouse, and we've got a tremendous group of people working for Germantown. I think our first responders are incredible. I mean, they've saved my wife's life about 5 years ago, and we've got scores and scores of people that have dedicated their lives to our city, and I love them all. Mm-hmm. But there's what I want to get done is I want to make sure that we spend money in the right direction. Is that interfering?
No. This guy over here is pointing over in our direction. I don't know what he wants over here, but. Oh no, they're just bringing people outside. No. All right,
so anyway, what I was saying, I forgot what I was saying. Let's wait for them to quit.
That was the gray hair is kind of going on. Oh, no. Okay. All right, listen. So, you don't like what he's done with the tax? You feel the tax rate the last couple of years was raised too much?
Yeah, it was raised 44.1%.
That's not part of the deal, though. When you come with, you know, when you guys and all the other communities in Shelby County went to their school systems, you knew you were going to get hit with a tax rate.
And that's not a problem. But we were told when the last tax increase, we as citizens, I wasn't in office yet, but we as citizens were told that the tax increase that went into effect in 2014 would take care of us for at least 5 years. All right, and having seen the revenues that we have received in sales taxes as well as property taxes, we're way ahead of the game. We could have waited into year 6, 7, possibly even 8 because of the large growth in sales taxes primarily. I mean, we will possibly hit $10 million in sales taxes just this year. And so, you know, all that needs to be taken into consideration. But what I'm seeing is pet projects where excessive amounts of money are being spent. And there's one particular project that just stood out when I first got elected, and the Parks and Recreation building was needing exterior painting. It needed a new roof, tear off in the roof, and they wanted to put new windows in, aluminum windows. The study for that was $24,200. Why do you need a study? I didn't get that. I asked the question. And then the actual project cost us $300,000. It was a one-bid contract by a guy who was going to take on all 3 responsibilities. So I asked our city administrator, you know, what's up? I mean, I just did the same work on my house and spent a heck of a lot less. I spent less than $80,000 on the project at my home, and I have more windows. And so I just don't get it. And he says, well, you just don't understand government spending. I said, but I do understand business. And I think we need to operate our city more like a business as opposed to, well, we got the money, let's spend it.
Do you think that's the case? I know because there are going to be people in this community, and I'm sure you're aware of this, who are going to look at what happened under Mayor Palazzolo and say, geez, what's he done? I mean, he's you know, what's not to like? You know, looking at the Trader Joe's, the Whole Foods, the continued growth here, what's not to like?
And that's not the issue. That's not an issue. It's not an issue with the people. That's a good thing, and I've been very supportive with economic development. What I'm not particularly liking, as we've stated, is the whole stand on apartments. I'm not a fan of smart growth at all. And it bothers me from the standpoint of seeing the urbanization of the community, which was a bedroom community under Mayor Goldsworthy. We had a period of, you had a building no taller than 2 stories, and everything had to be in earth tones. And that irritated the developers because they wanted to do more. Now they're doing more to the point to where we can build 10-story hotels in Germantown today, and under warrant, with a warrant. And so the average hotel can be built at 8 stories. So, you know, you go from one extreme to the other. It certainly slaps the people who've lived out here a long time in the face. My cousin who lives in New Orleans came here about 3 years ago when her sister passed away, and we didn't have anywhere near what we have today, and with the smart growth development that has been built in just these last 3 years. And surprised the living heck out of her when she visited us about 2 weeks ago.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I am going to ask you a bit about this. As this election gets closer, I mean, early voting starts next Wednesday.
Yeah.
There have been issues coming up concerning Rocky Janda saying he's been threatened, and his family has been threatened, and they have been threatened by a lady who he says is a very avid supporter of yours. What's going on there?
I know the woman by when I see her. I don't know the woman. I've seen her react. She came to Citizens to be Heard. It's the only time I've ever spoken, or she has spoken in front of us, in front of me, and it was the rest of the Board of Aldermen. But she made some comments that, you know, she gets a little outdone. I don't know anything about I don't do that Facebook stuff. I don't know of anything, any threats whatsoever.
There's been a restraining order placed on her, I mean, by Rocky and I think the mayor and the city manager.
I have no clue.
Yeah?
I have no clue.
Your opinion of something like that? Are you against that, obviously? Do you feel like, you know?
I want my supporters to act as I would act, and with calmness, with decorum, and at a high level of respect to the people who are running against me or against the other guys that are running for alderman that I'm in favor of.
Ugly politics aside, because it happens not just here, but it happens everywhere,
sure.
Unfortunately. Wrap it up for me. Tell me, if I'm a voter out there and I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, give me your best stuff.
My best stuff?
Yeah.
43 years in business, 37 running the business. Been heavily involved in the broader community in a big way. I've been on our national board of my industry, state boards in my industry. I've lobbied for the developmentally disabled. I've run capital campaigns, been on 3 other capital campaigns. I'm very, very active in the community as a whole. I'm the better choice because of my background. I compare my background to the current the mayor's background in leadership, and mine's is heads above. And if you do mind me saying that, don't mind me saying that. And on top of that, I have a vision of Germantown that the people have. I have been a supporter of the people and been a defender of the people ever since I got elected. And there have been people that come to our Board of Aldermen meetings who basically said, at Citizens to be Heard, nobody listens to us at that dais other than Alderman Massey and Alderman Barzizza. We truly listen and care about what the people say, and that's how I feel. I'm for the people and always have been.